Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our second installment of the TCN three-part virtual workshop series on tobacco retail marketing. We will be highlighting the 4 workforce development themes that have been identified through the 2017 Public Health Workforce Interest and Needs Survey. We have utilized that to inform this discussion today and on our final one next week to inform tobacco retail marketing training needs for public health agency executive leadership and programmatic staff. We are today going to be specifically focusing our discussion on how product placement differs by socioeconomic status, the tactical placement of advertising at retail locations, and how advertising items are used to increase youth access to tobacco products. We are gathered again today and delighted to have Ms. LaTanisha Wright, who will be overviewing the health hazards of nicotine, menthol, and other flavors throughout our discussion. LaTanisha Wright is the founder and CEO of Follow the Signs. We are delighted again to have you join us. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The goal of this session is to provide a review of Session 1, in case you were unable to attend last week. I'll provide information about how the tobacco industry uses presence and product placement strategies at retail to increase tobacco sales. The tobacco industry loses thousands of customers per day. Thousands quit, thousands die. Now, the tobacco industry has to replace the smokers that die in order to stay in business. Now, retail marketing not only stimulates unplanned purchases, it plays a major role in brand selection. It discourages quit attempts and abstinence among current and former tobacco users. Now, right now on this beautiful afternoon, there are over 4,000 big tobacco representatives at retail, encouraging wholesalers to sell tobacco to retailers and retailers to sell tobacco to customers. They are speaking directly with current and or potential tobacco users and influencing tobacco use. The tobacco marketing practices conducted today will increase tobacco use. It will increase nicotine addiction and tobacco-related disease, disability, and death. Now, TMs, or trade marketing / territory managers, are responsible for building relationships with hundreds of retailers that sell commercially manufactured tobacco. The purpose of building the relationship is simply to influence retailers to sign a contract and enter a business partnership with the tobacco industry. Contracts give the tobacco industry authority to control marketing and contracted stores. And these contracts require 3 things. 1, distribution. Retailers must purchase leading brands and brand styles and have them available for sale. 2, visible distribution. Leading products must be visible to customers. And 3, price communication. The prices and promotions of leading brands must be visible to customers, and all 3 requirements must be met at all times. Now, your TMs visit contracted stores at least once per month to monitor contract compliance and manipulate the 4 Ps. And again, today we'll focus on product and presence, and next week we'll focus on price and promotion. Now, there are hundreds of tobacco companies out there. When I worked for the tobacco industry, there were 4 big tobacco companies: Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, Lorillard, and the company I worked for, Brown & Williamson. Now, currently there are 3 big tobacco companies: Philip Morris, R.J. Reynolds, and ITG. These 3 companies dominate sales and marketing at retail. They have multiple brands in their brand portfolios and a variety of tobacco products: cigarettes, STPs, which are smokeless tobacco products, LCCs, which are little cigars and cigarillos, and ends, which are electronic nicotine delivery devices. Now, ends go by names such as vapes, vape pens, mods, tanks, e-cigarettes, e-cigs. I mean, there's so many names for these products. I call them ends. Now, next to gasoline, tobacco is the most profitable product at retail. Retailers must discount and advertise tobacco in order to increase store profits. Now, retailers don't have pockets deep enough to self-fund ongoing tobacco discounts and constantly refresh tobacco advertising. It's super expensive. And because of this, the majority of tobacco retailers are contracted with at least one big three, Philip Morris, RJR, or ITG. Now, contracted retailers receive free advertising, free tobacco displays, ongoing promotions, and ongoing financial incentive programs. A tobacco trade channel is a store that sells commercially manufactured tobacco. Now, Big Tobacco classifies tobacco outlets under one of the following categories on the left column of the slide. So look in the left column. Now, any convenience store that sells gasoline is a gas convenience. A convenience store that does not sell gasoline is a grocery store. It's small, it has one or two checkout lanes, it's independently owned, and it's also known as a corner store or a mom and pop. Now, a supermarket is often large with multiple checkout lanes, is often part of a chain, and it might sell gasoline. Walmart and Kmart are mass merchandisers. A liquor store predominantly sells alcoholic beverages. The primary products for selling drugstores are healthcare products and medication. And stores like Sam's Club and Costco are wholesalers. Now, cigarette tobacco shops, or CTS outlets, sell a variety of products that contain tobacco, cigarettes, smokeless tobacco, and cigar products. They also sell end products. They sell tobacco in bulk or by the carton, and when you enter a CTS outlet, you'll likely smell tobacco and see hundreds of cartons of cigarettes on display. Now, the only way to tell if a store is a CTS outlet is to look in the window or to go inside and take a look. Now, your vape shops, your cigar bars, hookah lounges, they might have a business name like smoke shop or tobacco shop, but they do not sell a variety of tobacco products and are therefore not classified as a CTS outlet by the tobacco industry. Again, there are hundreds of tobacco companies out there. Some only sell cigar products, some only sell ends. Now, currently, each big three has one leading end, electronic nicotine delivery device, and they market those ends more heavily in gas convenience and cigarette tobacco shops. Now, CPW stands for cartons per week. There are 10 packs in a carton. Your high-volume stores can sell up to and sometimes well over 800 cartons per week. Mid-volume stores sell up to 299, and low-volume stores sell up to 99 cartons per week. Your CTS outlets and wholesalers are high-volume stores. Now, your retailers visit wholesalers sometimes multiple times per week to purchase tobacco, and in most cases, they're going to purchase all of their stores' inventory, their sweet and salty snacks, and so on. Now, some chain gas convenience stores, like Quick Trip, Racetrack, some chain stores, gas convenience stores, are high volume. Many are mid. Your supermarkets, liquor, and drug stores, for the most part, are low volume. They don't sell a lot of cigarettes. Some of your drug stores might only sell 10 cartons of cigarettes per week. Now, the tobacco industry targets, contracts, and places ads and displays in all of the store types listed on this slide. However, the three circled are heavily targeted by the tobacco industry. Now, tobacco users under the age of 30 tend to purchase tobacco primarily by the pack from gas convenience and urban grocery stores. Now, tobacco users over the age of 30 tend to purchase primarily by the carton from CTS outlets, supermarkets, and mass merchandisers. Your gas convenience stores, your urban grocery, and cigarette tobacco shops are where big tobacco target new, young users as well as older chain users. This is where they spend the majority of their marketing dollars. Now, cigarettes became a widespread product after the cigarette machine was invented in 1880. It became a major product in the early 1900s. Now, tobacco was once believed to be a cure-all. It was used to dress wounds. Due to false advertising and lack of education, people once believed tobacco could cure everything from bad breath to cancer. Now, the 1964 Surgeon General's Report on Smoking and Health was the first federal government report that linked smoking and ill health, including lung cancer and heart disease. 50 years later, the 2014 Surgeon General's Report on Smoking and Health reported smoking causes 13 different cancers. You know, we've learned a lot over the years. We've learned that smoking not only causes your breath to smell like a hot sack of garbage, but it also prevents cancer treatments from working. You know, between 1964 and the 2014 Surgeon General's Report on Smoking, over 20 million Americans have died because of smoking, including millions of non-smokers, 2.5 million non-smokers, and over 100,000 innocent babies. Now, over the years, we have learned that smoking is the leading cause of preventable disease and disability in the U.S. and the world. We know now the hazards of secondhand and third-hand smoke. You know, we have seen tobacco products evolve over the years. Now, some tobacco products create more health hazards than others. However, none are without risk. All tobacco products contain nicotine, menthol, and/or flavoring chemicals.
Now, LaTanisha, public health agency staff, you know, they interact and talk to a number of different partners, often outside the agency. And when I think about one of the themes that came up in our workforce development survey around effective communication, I'm wondering if you could speak to what are some effective messages that executive leadership can use to describe some of those harmful effects of nicotine and tobacco flavors.
Okay. Well, let's start with nicotine. There are a few benefits to using nicotine. I mean, nicotine has mild antidepressant effects. It can improve mood, attention, concentration. It causes arousal and enhance awareness. It suppresses appetite. Okay, there are a few benefits, but these few benefits are short-lived. Now, nicotine is one of the world's most addictive substances. It can be just as hard or even harder to quit than heroin. It's hazardous when ingested, inhaled, or absorbed through the skin. It causes increased blood sugar levels, increased blood pressure. It causes immune disorders, constipation, anxiety. It affects the liver's ability to detoxify. It causes birth defects, stillbirth, preterm delivery. There's so many problems. You know, it creates so many health hazards. It slows bone and wound healing. It affects the developing brain. We know that over time, nicotine can increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. Also, there's nicotine poisoning, which can lead to seizures, respiratory failure, and ultimately death. Another thing, research shows that melanin-containing tissues may represent storage for nicotine. So it's possible that darker skin may contribute to a higher degree of nicotine dependence and lower quit rates. Now, the tobacco industry knows this. They know everything about nicotine. Yet they market tobacco products more heavily in communities of color, especially mentholated cigarettes. So menthol, what is menthol? Menthol is a mint-derived substance. Now, many menthol smokers tend to take deep drags on their cigarettes and therefore inhale more toxic chemicals, more carbon monoxide, and more smoke, which makes menthol potentially more hazardous than non-menthol cigarettes. Your menthol smokers also might have increased risk of addiction and a more difficult time quitting than non-menthol smokers. And menthol is also known as a starter product for youth. It's a flavor. And flavors mask the harshness and irritation of inhaling smoke, and it encourages people to experiment with tobacco. Now, with your ends, your ends are available in over 8,000 flavors. The chemicals in end flavoring and e-liquids produce hazards. Aldehyde causes respiratory allergies. Propylene glycol causes lung irritation and asthma. Carvone is a contact allergen. You know, research suggests that flavor additives may have serious health consequences, including inflammation to white blood cells and impaired blood vessel function. Some flavors, including menthol, cinnamon, and vanilla, are more toxic than others, and mixing flavors can make things even worse. You know, some flavors might be okay to ingest, but we just don't know the toxicity if inhaled over long periods of time. So the bottom line here when you're discussing nicotine, menthol, and the flavors, the bottom line is the tobacco industry is in the business of selling nicotine. They're going to do anything to sell it. Nicotine is addictive. It's poisonous. Menthol and flavors help the poison go down. Nicotine, menthol, and flavors cause addiction, disease, disability, and or death.
Those are really good points that you just covered and pretty straightforward key messages that agency staff can use when they're talking to partners. I'm wondering about the identification. The tobacco industry's always got something new up their sleeves. So could you talk to us a little bit about tobacco products, the different kinds of tobacco products that are available for sale at retail and how they differ from each other?
Sure. The tobacco products that you see on the slide are the leading tobacco products out there. You have cigarettes. Your cigarette is a cylinder of finely cut tobacco. It's rolled in paper for smoking. Cigarettes are sold in packs of 20. Cigarette sticks are available in different lengths and circumferences, and the tobacco inside of cigarettes is made up of expanded tobacco, which is dried tobacco, as well as reconstituted tobacco, which is mashed tobacco stems and other parts of the leaf that would otherwise go to waste. Now, a cigar is a cylinder of finely cut tobacco rolled in a tobacco leaf. So cigarettes are rolled in paper, cigars are rolled in a tobacco leaf. Now, cigar tobacco is made from aged dried tobacco. It does not have reconstituted tobacco. Now, your cigar tobacco is fermented for 3 to 5 months, and fermentation causes chemical and bacterial reactions in the tobacco, which changes the taste and the smell of tobacco and basically gives it a more pleasant smell. Now, little cigars are short and narrow. They resemble cigarettes in size, shape, packaging, and filter. Cigarillos are slightly larger than little cigarettes, but smaller than traditional cigars. Sometimes they have a plastic tip, but they don't have a filter. They're also sold in smaller packages. Now, because cigar products contain more tobacco, they produce greater amounts of secondhand smoke. There's also smokeless tobacco, and there's 2 forms of smokeless. There's snuff and chew. Snuff is finely ground tobacco. It's available as moist, dry, and snus. Moist tobacco is used orally. It's also known as spit tobacco or dip. Dry snuff is inhaled or snuffed into the nasal cavity. It's quite disgusting. Snus is moist snuff packaged into small tea bag-like pouches. It's spitless. And you have chew. So chew is available as plug, loose leaf, and twist. Twist is tobacco leaves that have been rolled and twisted together into a rope or a small pellet. It looks like something the dog leaves in the yard. Plug is solid chewing tobacco. It looks like a brownie, but it tastes like trash. And loose leaf is shredded chewing tobacco. Now, you also have hookah pipes. Your hookah pipes have a smoke chamber, a bowl, a pipe, and a hose. The bowl is filled with flavored tobacco. Charcoal heats up the tobacco, and the user inhales it through a mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is shared with multiple people during each smoke session. Now, I recently spoke with a hookah bar owner in Atlanta that provides users with new and disposable mouthpieces during each session. However, he told me that they only clean the hoses and the bowls every 2 weeks, which I'm sure adds to the long list of hookah health hazards. The last product featured on the slide are your ends, which quickly emerged after the 2009 Tobacco Control Act restricted the sale and distribution of flavored cigarettes. Now, a common term for end use is juuling, thanks to the leading end product Juul, J-U-U-L, which is now part of the Philip Morris brand portfolio. Now, ends are battery-powered devices. They contain a nicotine-based liquid that is vaporized, inhaled, and used to stimulate the experience of smoking tobacco. The vapor that ends release is a gas, also called secondhand aerosol. And, some of your ends out there resemble traditional tobacco products in size and shape. Some look like flash drives. Some are disposable, others are rechargeable, but they do not contain tobacco. And nicotine levels vary, with some ends containing more nicotine than a pack of cigarettes. Now, many of you should know that ends have a bad reputation of exploding and causing injury. There have been reports of There have been reports of end users breaking their necks, losing their eyes. From 2015 to 2017, there were more than 2,000 end explosions and burn injuries in the U.S. Just last month in my hometown, Fort Worth, Texas, a 24-year-old man died after an end exploded in his mouth. Now, these ends are not authorized cessation products. They are not designed to help people quit. Now, some tobacco users have attempted to use ends as a tool to quit, only to end up as stable dual tobacco users using both cigarettes and ends. So, there's just so much we don't know about these things, and just like cigarettes, it will take a lifetime to discover the true hazards. And even the tobacco industry has said that no tobacco product on this slide is without harm. These products are designed to sustain addiction. They all contain nicotine, menthol, and or flavoring. Now, as far as product is concerned at retail, your TMs monitor product during each store visit. They ensure sufficient distribution of key brands to maximize sales opportunities. Your leading brands and brand styles must be in distribution at all times. Now, just like Coca-Cola is available in cans and glass and plastic bottles, tobacco packaging varies. Now, cigarettes are sold in short and long packs. They're Kings or 100s. They're also available in both soft and box packs. It's the same product, just different packaging. Also, just like Coca-Cola is available in diet, regular, cherry zero, each tobacco brand is available in a variety of brand styles: full flavor, mild, light, ultra light, natural light. Now, the tobacco industry is prohibited from labeling or advertising cigarettes as full flavor, mild, or light. However, due to the tobacco industry's sophisticated use of color association, smokers have been identifying their brand styles by colors for years. For example, Marlboro full flavors are red, the milds are blue, the lights are gold, and the ultralights are silver, the green packs are menthol. Now, of the 42 visible pack facings on this display, on these three trays, 75% are for more addictive brand styles, the full flavors and the milds. And this is a common merchandising tactic designed to encourage the sale of more addictive brand styles. Additionally, this display has 19 different brand styles, mostly for Marlboro. Now, depending on the state you live in, each brand style of Marlboro can cost the retailer anywhere between $50 and $130 per carton. So this setup, these three trays, would cost the retailer up to nearly $2,500. Now, in order to keep tobacco displays fully stocked and neatly merchandised, contracted retailers are required to maintain distribution on products that often have little or no demand in their stores. Now, if a TM enters a contracted store during their monthly unplanned store visit and one brand style is out of stock, the store's contract will go into noncompliance. The TM will order the retailer to correct the problem by immediately purchasing the missing brand from their local wholesaler. Now, the retailer's financial benefits will be terminated or suspended until further notice. His discount dollars will be given to a nearby retailer that doesn't have a problem with out of stocks. The retailer is going to lose money, not only in the tobacco category, but all other categories. So this is a method tobacco companies use to control and manipulate tobacco sales. Now, the shelf life of tobacco is at least 6 months, especially when the product is not stored in direct sunlight. Now, tobacco companies often enforce no return policies on tobacco products, so retailers must sell whatever they buy. They must sell the tobacco required by contract or risk losing money. If they cannot sell through the contracted product, it will go stale. Now, tobacco product expiration codes are difficult for retailers and customers to decipher, making it possible for retailers to sell and consumers to consume stale and infested tobacco products. Now, low-volume stores, like drugstores, are heavily burdened with stale products. In 2014, the CEO of CVS announced that the company would stop selling tobacco because it was inconsistent with the company's purpose to promote health. He failed to share details of how CVS was losing money because it was burdened with stale and infested tobacco products. You know, I saw from my own eyes back rooms at CVS full of tobacco products that was infested with little small teeny tiny bugs. Okay, just totally disgusting. Now, if the CEO would have shared this detail, if he would have said, we stopped selling tobacco because we were losing money, then he could have encouraged other low-volume stores to conform to CVS's ways and stop selling tobacco. Now, product pack design can provide reinforcement of choice for tobacco users. As you can see on the slide, there have been tobacco products with names and designs that imply specific racial minority targeting. Now, pack designs serve as advertisements. They serve as silent traveling salesmen. They're constantly on display, encouraging others to use. Now, pack designs vary by community. For example, in the mid-1990s, cigarettes were placed in black communities a few years after the movie Malcolm X hit theaters. They were placed in retail stores during Black History Month as well. Now, last week I discussed the importance of conducting comprehensive tobacco retail assessments and documenting the differences in tobacco marketing in various communities. It's important to pay attention to the advertising message on tobacco ads, including the ads on the tobacco displays. Look at the pack designs. Ask yourself when you go out to retail, do the ads at this store or in this community target a specific gender, lifestyle, age, community, culture, heritage, ethnicity? And if it does, you should document it. Now, during each store visit, your TMs identify and exploit opportunities to enhance their company's presence and position near and behind the counter as well as on the ceiling. Now, interior ads and displays are strategically placed to achieve interior and exterior visibility. There are different types of tobacco ads and advertising items available. Some are large and placed behind the counter. Some are small and placed on counters and protective glass. Some hang from the ceiling in front of the primary point of sale. Now, some of your ads out there, some of your displays are temporary, meaning they are made of paper. They can be easily thrown away. Now, the large floor displays that you see behind counters are permanent. They house your cigarettes, your smokeless tobacco, and your electronic nicotine delivery devices. These are permanent displays. They are the tobacco industry's most effective advertising piece at retail. They can actually cost the tobacco industry well over $1,700 each to place in these stores. Now, as a part of the retailer's contract, retailers must upkeep the displays by keeping them dusted, full of stock, plugged up, well lit, and positioned in highly visible areas. So these displays, these things are super high maintenance and a pain for the retailers. Now, TMs identify and exploit opportunities to enhance their company's exterior presence and position during each store visit. They target prime advertising locations like high-traffic street corners, gas pumps, and store entrances. Now, focus stores are more heavily burdened with excessive tobacco advertising. And as I mentioned during our last session, focus is a tobacco industry term used to describe low SES communities with urban characteristics, predominantly communities of color. Focus residents are often uninsured and are medically underserved with limited access to health care, tobacco cessation products, and or tobacco use prevention programs. Now, non-focus describes communities with mid to high SES status and suburban or rural characteristics. Your non-focus residents often, but not always, enjoy better insurance coverage and better access to health care. Now, as far as the tobacco environment is concerned, Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds dominate tobacco marketing in non-focused areas. Together, they heavily market non-methylated cigarettes, smokeless, and ends. In focus markets, R.J. Reynolds and ITG dominate tobacco marketing with mentholated cigarettes, little cigars and cigarillos, and ends. And remember, menthol smokers tend to have a harder time quitting than non-menthol smokers. Now, let's talk some more about the stale tobacco. Stale and infested tobacco is a problem in focus communities. Now, many focus stores are low volume and have a difficult time selling contracted product prior to expiration. Not only that, but some focus stores are offensively infested with rodents, roaches, pigeons, I mean, you name it, which of course affects product freshness. Now, focus stores are more likely to have high-profile tobacco advertising. Your high-profile ads are lit, sometimes rotating. Your high-profile displays are flashy. They have more than one lit component that draws attention to the fixture. They have a lot of lights. They're super flashy. Now, in focus stores, you'll find more product placement on the counter, near candy, near toys, snacks, and fruit. This is especially easy for the tobacco industry to do in stores that have protective glass, which of course is common in high crime areas. Now, The Bluff is a focus community in Atlanta, and it was briefly featured in the film Big Tobacco, Young Targets, and the film shows a glimpse of how the tobacco industry targets focus stores. So if you haven't viewed the film, I highly recommend it, and I'll give you more details about how to download it in just a moment. Now, there are 4 reasons why focus stores have more aggressive tobacco presence. Reason number 1, store density. Focus markets have a high density of stores. There is a liquor store and an urban store on just about every single corner. Reason number 2, store type. Focus markets tend to have more independently owned stores than chains. Now, the tobacco industry has the ability to market tobacco as aggressively as they want to in independent stores. However, in chains, all decisions regarding the tobacco category must be negotiated at the chain's head office. Now, because of this, your chains tend to have less tobacco advertising and a clean, uniform merchandise look. Now, your non-focus markets tend to have more chains. The third reason, R.J. Reynolds is known for aggressive marketing. Now, the store on the bottom left is a focus store with 19 tobacco ads. They all belong to R.J. Reynolds. They are the biggest devil out of all 3 of the companies, Philip Morris, ITG, and RJR. RJR is the worst company in my opinion. Now, the 4th reason you'll find more aggressive tobacco presence in focus markets is because Philip Morris is not a major player in focus markets. Philip Morris places a cap on the total number of ads and displays that can be placed in contracted stores. Additionally, they require 50% of tobacco advertising space. So if you look at the photo on the bottom right, this is a Philip Morris contracted store where Philip Morris required the retailer to bring in 2 exterior ads. So Philip Morris wants 50% of the space. They brought in 2 ads, which means ITG and RJR can bring in 2 signs combined. There's a total of 4 exterior signs at this store. Okay, so as you can see, there are disparities in access to tobacco at retail, and these disparities are created by predatory tobacco industry marketing strategies.
Thank you for that. I'm thinking about the workforce development theme related to systems and strategic thinking. Public health agencies are led, as you all know, by health commissioners who are juggling many priorities across the entire agency and who are engaged with stakeholders and influencers across the state. How best can health commissioners really operationalize approaches to address tobacco retail marketing?
Well, it's important to take a comprehensive approach towards addressing retail. It's important to get out to retail, see what the tobacco industry is doing in your communities. Go out there and build relationships with the retailers. Conduct retail surveys. Discuss tobacco laws with retailers. You know, retailers can reduce contracted tobacco ads and displays and still qualify for ongoing financial incentives, which is what they want. You know, if a retailer wants a clean storefront, he can remove all window signs. What he can't do is remove one contracting tobacco company's signs without removing all contracting tobacco company signs. Now, retailers need help understanding that they have the right to sell tobacco in a manner that does not harm the public. So it's important that we get out there, those of us working in public health, go to retail, again, build relationships with retailers and provide ongoing retailer education. Advocate for the voluntary removal of ads and the reduction of product visibility. It's so important to conduct ongoing, comprehensive retail assessments that expose disparity in access to tobacco. After you do your retail assessments, document your findings. When you can, take photos, or I love taking videos of the tobacco category in stores out there. Analyze your results. Share your results with other people. Describe, when you're sharing your results, describe the impact of tobacco industry marketing on youth, the impact on youth access to tobacco, smoking initiation, and nicotine addiction. Describe how it impacts former and current tobacco users with a desire to quit. Describe how predatory marketing impacts underserved communities. Also work with law enforcement, community members, youth. Work with faith-based leaders and retailers and discuss how excessive marketing impacts retailers and retail safety. Engage your stakeholders and influencers and plan in the planning, implementation, evaluation, and enforcement of point-of-sale strategies. It's a pretty good way to approach retail marketing is to take the policy-based approach. Understand and know how to use your local, state, and federal tobacco control laws that impact retail. For example, the 2009 Tobacco Control Act gives states, localities, and tribal governments the authority to enact more stringent restrictions on the sale and distribution and availability of tobacco products at retail. This law can be used to restrict the type of tobacco products sold, as well as the visibility, the placement, location, and type of tobacco ads placed. It can also be used to restrict or reduce window signs. Now, tobacco retail licensing and zoning allow loopholes to be closed in tobacco laws. They allow control over the location and overall density of tobacco retailers in a community, which can reduce the predatory tobacco marketing that we see out there. Now, Big Tobacco has circumvented tobacco laws in the past. That's what they do, and they do it quite well. So policies should be drafted carefully. You want to include the results of the retail assessments, as well as provide well-supported evidence about the impact of tobacco marketing on sustaining nicotine addiction and youth initiation. No matter what you do at retail, remember that your TMs identify and exploit opportunities to enhance their company's presence during each store visit, and they are always at retail Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. So there needs to be a system in place that repeatedly and comprehensively monitors point-of-sale marketing practices and tobacco law compliance. Now, after this session, you will receive an email with links to several handouts. The link titled Tobacco Control Laws includes information about tobacco laws, and it also provides several wonderful resources for the policy-based approach. The Fast Facts link provides details about the hazards of nicotine and the various tobacco products discussed during the session, as well as the hazards of secondhand and third-hand smoke and secondhand aerosol. The Follow the Signs fact sheet provides details about our comprehensive and interactive 2 to 3 day tobacco point-of-sale crash course and some of our other products and services if you need additional training around the retail environment. There's also a link to the film I mentioned earlier, Big Tobacco Young Targets. And if you look at the fact sheet, the link is there. If you don't receive the fact sheet, then you can just go on the Follow the Signs website, and it's there as well. Now, the Tobacco Industry Marketing Overview handout provides the key points to this presentation, and there is also a Follow the Signs evaluation form. If you complete it and send it back to me before 5 p.m. tomorrow, then Follow the Signs, my office will offer a discount on future training services. So this concludes my presentation. I believe we would like to open up the floor for questions.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation today. This was very insightful information. I did notice that we do have a question in our chat box, but I think I'll need a little bit more clarification just so that I'm making sure I'm asking that question within the right context. So Grace, if you're still on the line, if you could please add that into the chat box with your question, that would be helpful, and we'll make sure that we turn to that. While we wait on that, I just wanted to ask sort of a general question. If you could share any examples at all of ways that folks have partnered with non-traditional partners to maybe do some campaigning or information disseminating with local retailers, and how that might have looked, or if you have any ideas that you can sort of share, any particular non-traditional partners that folks might think about approaching retailers with.
Oh, sure. There's a lot of examples. One is with youth, college-age youth, not high school-age youth. College-age youth went out to retail, and they actually conducted the retail assessments. I trained them to use their phones to get as much information as they could from the retailer or from the stores. So sometimes when you go into a retail store, the retailer is they're not going to want to deal with you, especially if you say, I'm here to try to reduce tobacco advertising in your store. So the youth were trained to go into the store with their cell phones, just on video, on record. They held their phones as if they were sending text messages, but they were actually recording the tobacco display and getting, good images of the display. After they did that, they went back to our training office, and they actually were able to measure the size of the tobacco displays and determine which tobacco companies were targeting their community more, Then they went back and they educated policymakers. And not only that, they went to churches in their communities, people who live and work in the communities that they were monitoring. They gave them information about what they found, and then they went and, went forward with steps to work to use policy to reduce tobacco advertising in their communities. What I've found is if you are conducting retail assessments and you're working in a community that you're not familiar with, you don't know the retailers, it's always a good idea to work with law enforcement that work in those communities and might live in those communities. Work with your churches. Work with any youth program that might have children that are always in these communities. Work with people who live in these communities to go into the stores and help you to get your foot in the door with the retailers and help you to conduct retail assessments.
Those are really good ideas. Thank you for that. We have one question that was asking, earlier you were describing the 4 reasons for more aggressive retail marketing. Could you repeat those 4 things for us, please?
So I think they're referring to the 4 things that the tobacco industry, the four reasons focus stores have more aggressive tobacco presence. The first one is store. Yes. Oh, okay. The first one is store density. Your focus markets have a high density of stores. The second is store type. Your focus markets have more independently owned stores than chains. And again, the tobacco industry, they're free to go crazy in these independent stores and just plaster the stores with advertising. But in chains, they can't do that because all decisions regarding tobacco ad placement and display placement have to be negotiated at the chain's head office. The third one is R.J. Reynolds is the most aggressive big tobacco company out there. They're known, even if you go back in the past, back in the 50s and 60s, and look at archived tobacco documents, you'll see that they're the biggest demons out there, and they just plaster the stores they're contracted at with tobacco ads. If that store is not contracted with Philip Morris, the fourth reason was Philip Morris is not a major player in focus markets, and again, Philip Morris places a cap on the amount of signs, ads, and displays that can be placed at retail. So anywhere Philip Morris is advertised, you most likely will not see, 24, 30 exterior signs, because in most cases they're going to say, hey, we only want to put maybe 4 signs at this store. They're never going to go and say we want to put, 20 signs at a store.
Great. Thank
So
you for that clarification.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think we have time just for one more question before we wrap up today that we received in the chat box, asking if you can speak more on how preemptive states can pursue some of the options that you described in your presentation today.
Yeah, you're going to have to get out to retail and really work to push to try to get the retailers to voluntarily reduce the tobacco ads. And I've worked with several different states and localities that have that issue. They can't put any laws into place, any additional laws into place, to protect the public. So again, you're going to want to go out to retail. Now, the tobacco industry, they have this dysfunctional relationship with your retailers. And if you get out to retail, you'll see that a lot of your retailers do not like the tobacco industry. They feel like they're being pushed around. They do need someone on their side that's going to say, hey, let me help you understand your contract requirements. Do you understand that you don't have to have all of these tobacco ads? Do you understand that you're being pushed around? If you don't believe me, go into a store on the other side of town. If it's in a focus area, go in a store on the other side of town and see. Some stores have no tobacco ads on the stores. And, your retailers don't have to have tobacco ads on the front of their stores. These stores belong to the retailers, not the tobacco industry. So you definitely want to learn as much as you can about tobacco contracts so that you can educate retailers on what they can and can't do as far as their contract is concerned. And one other thought I just had. Also the tobacco displays. I've worked with stores that they want the contract, they have the tobacco display. The tobacco display creates safety hazards. When a retailer is standing at a counter, they have to turn their back to the counter to find the tobacco product being requested by the customer, and oftentimes that ends up with them getting robbed. The displays are really, really a pain for the retailers. So I had one retailer, or a few retailers, that actually put doors on their tobacco displays. The displays that the tobacco industry gives retailers, they come with doors, but the tobacco industry won't give the retailers the doors. So if the retailer requests the doors, then they can get them, or if they order some of their own, they can get them, cover up the product, put all the product in the overhead bin. So even without policy, there's still ways to go about getting, the ads reduced and the product visibility reduced as well.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. Please join us next week for our third and final installment of this virtual workshop series, where we will have LaTanisha with us once again, covering tobacco retail marketing and really identifying the themes captured from the PHWin survey on workforce development. Following the conclusion of this session, you'll be directed to a survey, and we will also be sending out some post-workshop materials to everyone that you can reference, along with contact information if you need to follow up with any of us. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you again for joining us.